Rejection is protection. If it didn't work out, it means it wasn't for you. And I also believe that what's meant for you won't pass you by. So trust in that. Trust that there's something bigger out there looking out for you. And your path is your path. Enjoy it as much as you can. Find the levity in it wherever you can. It's really not about you. It's really all about them. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And yes, we are talking about rejection is protection today. I'm so psyched about this topic because I think it's so important to get our heads on straight as it relates to rejection. And to be honest, it kind of feels really ironic that I'm talking about this because in my life, in my journey, rejection has been such a difficult thing for me to deal with. But I'm here because I've learned a lot of things and I want you to know. So before we jump in, let me just share a little bit about myself. If this is the first time that you're here, my name is Tosca DiMatteo and I'm the founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting. After 25 years in the marketing world, building brands, some of which you may have heard of, I became a coach to help people get out of their way, to overcome their fears and unresolved history. And my specialty is I help people with those inner critic dialogues in their head. If you want to learn more about the work I do, visit CoachTosca.com. All right, so here's the deal. My February newsletter, I wrote about rejection is protection, and it really resonated with folks. And I merely scratched the surface on the topic in the newsletter. And so I wanted to do this episode as a follow-up to give you even more context and even more tools in your toolbox for how to deal with the heartbreak of rejection. This episode is for those of you who are feeling down and out on the job search. It's for those who feel like things are not moving forward in your life or in your career. It's for folks who've been laid off. It's for folks who haven't had to search for a job in years and it all feels super overwhelming. And it's also for people who've received a lot of no's in either your career or your life lately. So let's just first talk about why rejection is so hard. The truth is, we want to be chosen. We want to be wanted. It's human. And also, we often have unresolved history from our past, which makes rejection really hard. We may be seeking external validation still. And if we're seeking external validation, rejection can be really tough. Rejection can be hard also because when we're seeking something new, especially in the career front, right, we're often running away from something that's not working anymore or an environment that's making us feel like crap. Often that's when we're searching for the next thing. Rejection can be hard because we're just wanting the next thing as soon as possible. And look, it's okay to be running away from something, but it's just helpful to be clear about what's that most important thing about where you're going to next. And it's also important to set expectations with yourself about how quickly it will happen that you're going to get to the next thing. Because I think sometimes we just set unreasonable expectations around a system that we have no control over that's actually broken. Rejection often brings up feelings and emotions from the past. And it's hard, right? When we believe in ourselves, but we don't think other people are seeing our value. There's all kinds of reasons why rejection is hard. And I invite you to consider for you what makes it hard for you. What makes it hard to swallow the no? And just do that investigation because you might be able to uncover how to make it easier on yourself because you better understand what's going on in your heart. What I need you to know if you are in the job search process is that this system is broken, point blank. It is hard to navigate systems that are broken. And partly they're broken because they've been broken for a while, but also the whole world of job placement is in such transformation between the technology that's entered, between how recruiters are incentivized, between hiring managers, between folks that are in positions that aren't really trained well or know what to look for. Also, folks looking for people just like them or having very closed minds around what's possible for filling a role and what that experience could look like. It just runs the gambit. I say all this to say that the rejection is not about you. The system is super broken. And so we just have to acknowledge that. And what that means is we have to be doing a lot of different things to navigate the system. It can't just be a one note process. Like I don't want to go into the tactics of job searching, but like if you're all you're doing is one thing and one thing only to get your foot indoors, you're probably going to need to diversify your approach. So if all you're doing is like LinkedIn applications, if that's all you're doing, oh my God, I hope it's not. But if it is, you're going to have to add some other tactics to that, like also reaching out to people within the company, like also going directly on company websites, like networking, like all the things, right? Like I digress. You want to work together, call me, I'll help you out. I'm just saying, right, that this system is all over the place. And so we have to get really creative and honor what works for us as well. I'll get more into that later. But I also need you to know, and you may know it in your brain, but I need you to like really land this one in your heart that we have no idea what's going on behind the curtain, right? Like when you get the no, you have no idea why. The no could have been because of something completely not having to do with you, which is why I started this whole episode with a song that it's not about you, because it's really not. And you look, if there's an issue with how you're positioning yourself, or if you have an issue with how you're presenting yourself, sure, we can address that. But I'm just going to make a big guess that for those of you listening, it's really not about any of that. It's about the process and the system is broken. What I also need you to know about the job search process is that nothing is wasted. Everything that you've done up to this very moment was worthwhile. Every application, every conversation, every investigation into companies, all of that you get to use in the next step and in the future. It's easy to tell ourselves, oh my God, that was a big waste of time. Nothing is a waste of time, especially when you're operating from that heart-centered place and you're operating from your truth. Nothing is wasted. The other piece of this is that it's the contrast of what's happening in our lives that can be confirmation for our path or more information about what it is we really desire. So if, for example, something didn't come through and the truth of how we feel about it is disappointed, but also relieved, then wow, what a beautiful insight to say, oh, wow, why didn't I really want that? And that's beautiful information for you to then make better decisions as you move forward and looking for the next thing. So if you need no other example of all of what I'm talking about in terms of the system is broken and it's not about you and your talent, then just remember the journey that Beyonce is currently on to get her country album on country radio stations. It's Beyonce. It's not a slam dunk for her to get into these country radio stations. Isn't that crazy? Look, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look it up. It's mind blowing, but I hope that gives you some solace that we're operating in some messed up systems. And that means that we have to do the work on ourselves to make sure that we're not letting all that ick stick to us. So before you start to evaluate, oh my gosh, is it my resume? Is it my storytelling? Why aren't these things coming through? Why am I getting the no's? I need you to do something else first before that. I need you to focus on shifting your energy. I need you to focus on how you are showing up and if you're showing up as your best self. So some questions to ask yourself as it relates to kind of your energetic vibe is, are you showing up to interviews in resentment? Are you hitting submit on applications while you're in resentment and in a bad mood? Are you unattached to the outcomes, or are you grasping on to like control of what the result will be from these conversations, these interviews, and these applications? Are you operating out of desperation or out of a pure desire? Are you open to possibilities, or are you only seeing one pathway to landing an opportunity? And what I mean by that is, we can look at a job description and we could say to ourselves, oh, well, it has to be this or it's nothing. And that's not true. I think that job descriptions are just an idea, and that you get to explore where that idea can go. Maybe that job description gets completely revamped because they realize actually they do need somebody with more experience and you have exactly that experience. Or maybe what would work for everybody even better than that full-time opportunity is a contract job for 6 months and see how it goes for both of you. Being expansive about the process versus black and white can serve you tremendously. And the other piece is like, do you have mixed energy? And sometimes when we have mixed energy, we're hopeful, but we're also in despair. Like, that's normal, right? We have all kinds of feelings. There might be an opportunity for you to clear what's not serving you so that your energy lines can feel more clear, right? So that you can be more squarely in enjoyment of the ride, of curiosity about what's next. The other huge thing about really addressing like what is our vibe as we're going through this process is to really evaluate in your current job, is it full of friction and anxiety? Because it's critical to neutralize your existing situation before pursuing what's next. In the work that I do as a career coach, let me tell you, this is always what we have to address first. If the current job is just draining all your energy, yeah, of course, how are you going to show up for the job search as your best self? You're not going to be able to do that. And going from despair to hopeful takes a few steps and a few emotional steps in between. I encourage you to be realistic about having a positive outlook on the future if your current situation is like dragging your heart down and making you miserable. The first thing to do is to neutralize that, and not just toxic positivity stuff, but to really dive deep into your current situation and figure out how you can give it less energy, how you can be less triggered by it. And that's a big part of the work that I do as well. And then the last piece I want to say about the energy clearing stuff and getting your vibe right is to actually physically clear and purge your digital inbox and your office, like physical papers of the stuff that brings you down. The rejection emails, the letters, the stuff that you don't need anymore. And a true story about this is I did this personally. This was years ago. I realized I still had all the notes and contact information and all the stuff from the jobs that I had gone after over the course of 15 years. And I had it in my office at the time when I was starting this business and I was looking for my first coaching clients. And I realized I just gotta clear all this stuff. It was from a scarcity mentality that kept all these phone numbers. Like, what if I need a job? Like, what if I have to go back to the well? And I cleared all that stuff. And let me tell you, the miracle and the magic that happened is within a week of me doing that, I landed 5 clients. It was amazing. And so I want that for you. I want you to purge what doesn't serve you and what's bringing you down every time you see that inbox or you see that person's email as you're scrolling. Now that I've covered that, what I want to do is I want to give you some really actionable things that you can do to shift your vibe. The very first thing I'll talk about is grieving. Give yourself time to grieve fully and know that you may have to do it more than once. And grieving might be grieving the loss of a job. It might be grieving the knowing that you're going to leave your job and there's things there that you are going to be sad about leaving. And it might be about grieving the no's, right? And the things that you were really hopeful for that didn't come through. We have to grieve that. Like, I don't care who you are. It's part of the process. And I think we don't talk about that enough, that grief is part of the process of rejection. We have to move through the emotions and process what's actually underneath the rejection. There might be something that's even deeper. And there might be something else, for example, that had gone on in your life at the time of a particular rejection that made it even harder this time around. Maybe you were also dumped by your significant other. And then this particular rejection feels like the weight of the world. And so just like really diving in and seeing like what's going on and what do I have to clear up to kind of shift things for myself. The next piece is understanding what story you're telling yourself. Are you making the rejection into something bigger than it is? Are you giving it more credence than it deserves? I actually talked about this in my first episode of the year titled When Nothing Feels New. And it's really all about don't give these situations more meaning and energy than they're actually worth. Like, don't make it mean like that you're not worthy or you're never going to get another job or like it's going to take forever. Like, no, those are not the stories that are going to serve you. The other thing that I recommend all the time to my clients is to write a letter to those who said no, those who sent the rejection, or those that you interacted with and things didn't work out. Put all your feelings and thoughts on the paper. I mean, throw the F bombs down if you need to, and then read it out loud and then burn the letter. What this does is it allows you to externalize everything you're feeling. It allows you to express what's really going on. And sometimes you may realize, wow, I didn't even know that was in there. I didn't even know I felt that way. And that can be really great because that helps you to clear and cleanse the energy of the no. The next thing, and I alluded to this earlier, is to list out, write down everything you learned about the process. Write down what you learned about what got you excited to what you experimented with that particular journey, what supported you in the process. Maybe you learned a new way to talk about yourself or a new way to talk about your experience. Like you've learned something in that process that led you to the no. Maybe you learned that you really don't like video interviews, which that's a whole nother topic. I think that's terrible. And I mean video interviews like there's nobody on the other side of the camera. Like that's just terrible. If you're listening, your company's doing that, please have a conversation. It's just terrible. All right. Anyway, and then ask yourself how you've been showing up. In what energy, with what mindset, to really do that excavation. Say, is my mindset that I'm never going to get this job? If that's really what you're telling yourself, then that needs to be cleared out. That needs to be thrown in the garbage so that you can shift your mindset to something that actually serves you. And a really big question is, in this process of looking for your next opportunity, have you been playing your game or somebody else's? Have you been playing by somebody else's rules, or are you honoring what works for you and what your superpowers actually are? Because when we're playing our game, we're going to win. When we're playing other people's games, it's a heck of a lot harder. So whatever that question means to you, run with it and explore it. And if you want to talk to me more about it, please reach out because I think this is a really important question to dive into. And the last thing I want to say about how you can actually shift your vibe is to really ask yourself if you need a damn break, because you cannot be in the search 24/7 and you can't do it for months or even weeks, sometimes even days in a row. You just can't. It's not sustainable. And it's not what gives you your best possible results. Sometimes you just have to give yourself permission to say, I'm going to give myself a break because I'm burnt out on it. And people often don't do that because they're just like, I have to do this fast. I have to do it now. And it's like, you're not in control of the timeline anyway. So give yourself a break so you can break up the energy that you've been in and come back fresh and with new perspective and with more hope. That's going to serve you more than anything. You have to really get out of this mentality of like quantity over quality. Because if the quality of your energy is really clear and good, that's going to matter more than if you're applying to 50 jobs while you're in a shitty mood. I always say to my clients, please do not hit submit button on a job if you're in a bad mood. That's not going to be a good look for you. I know I've just been rifling off. I've been sharing a lot of ideas about this. And like I said, the energy comes first, really clearing out your mindset, what you're saying to yourself that's not serving you, the unresolved history that you're carrying that baggage with you. Address this first. Then we can get to the resume stuff. Then we can get to the narrative stuff. And I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 times with my clients that I'm working with that are looking for the next thing in their career, that's the process that we use. We have to first neutralize where they are. Then we have to clear the energy and deal with the emotional stuff related to the rejections and the process. And then we can get to, all right, now let's take a look at our stories and our narratives and our resume and all that stuff. And usually energetically, people aren't ready to do that day one and working with me because they've been through the mud. Because this shit is hard, people. Give yourself a break. I feel for you. If you're out there and you're just going through a hard time, I'm really sorry. This is not for the faint of heart. It's a really hard time to be in the job market because everything is changing. Industries are changing. Skill sets that are needed are changing. And it's just tough. So pat yourself on the back. You are getting up every day and you are just taking one step at a time. And that is all you can do. And I want to leave you with these thoughts. Keep coming back to your power and remind yourself who the F you are. You are freaking amazing. You have amazing skill sets. You have incredible experience. You've been through some things and you've come out the other side. And don't let anyone ever make you feel otherwise. Nobody can take that away from you. Nobody. So keep on coming back to your truth, your power, the validity in your experience and where you are in this moment, and trust you are exactly where you're meant to be. And define your own reality for yourself. You get to tell the narrative of what's going on, not only to yourself, but to others. Do you want to tell the story to yourself that you're in a deep despair of the job search? Or do you want to tell yourself that you're in the process of magnetizing your best next step of your career? Be mindful of what you're telling yourself and others because this is the kind of energetic stuff that matters. What is it that's going to actually serve you in terms of the narrative? And you may not even realize what you're telling yourself. Look, I got to do the same thing as an entrepreneur. I'm telling myself every day I'm building a phenomenal global business and it's highly successful. I'm telling myself what I want to actually believe in my body to be true and actually honor what is true because what is true is exactly what I said. I'm building a phenomenal global business and I'm helping the world be a better place. Period. I hope some of this has landed with you. I hope it makes you feel a little bit better that you're not alone in how hard this is. And I hope you've picked up a few tools. Maybe you'll have to rewind and re-listen to catch them all. But for those of you that are in transition, maybe you're in the job search or you know you want to search for what's next, I want you to know that I do have coaching packages that not only include the work to get you out of your own funk, but also that will totally transform your resume and your narrative. This is the work that I do. And if you want to explore that, you can book a discovery call with me. You can just go to toscadimatteo.com/contact. And there's a way to book an exploratory call with me. That's complimentary. It's been a pleasure to be with you. Keep getting up every day, one foot forward, one step in front of the other. That's how you get to where you want to be. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down. It matters how many times you get up. So I'm here cheering you on to keep on getting up, keep on putting yourself out there, keep on trusting that divine timing is at play and it's going to work out for you. Rejection is protection. If it didn't work out, it means it wasn't for you. And I also believe that what's meant for you won't pass you by. So trust in that. Trust that there is something bigger out there looking out for you. And your path is your path. Enjoy it as much as you can. Find the levity in it wherever you can. Give yourself permission to laugh and have fun. And let me know how it's going. I'd love to hear from you. All that information you can find in the show notes. It's been great to have you in the lab. I look forward to seeing you next time. And ciao for now.